We're live. This is Rich Lieberman on the Bay Area Media Pulse. You know, KCBS does a hell of a job of doing the absolute possible endless ways of why I can't stand them and how absolutely awful they've become. And there's so much to go through, but this is the one that takes the cake, the proverbial cake. I'm talking about what KCBS has done lately, and they do lots of crappy things lately, but I'm going to give you the very latest because this one is up there with amongst the best. If you've been listening to this travesty of a news station, and it's getting worse and worse, in spite of the fact that they brought in people from out of the market and tried to become legitimate again, and they simply are not. All right, case in point. Last few months, they've been running these stories about the women's basketball situation, and that's a big story. Women's basketball. It is big, but not the manner in which KCBS presents this story. First, they've been doing this story ad nauseum, and that has to do with the WNBA. Caitlin Clark, all that, which is not even a part of this story. But I'll get to that in a second. But if you've been listening to KCBS, they did a feature on the new, soon to be playing in May of 2025 WNBA team in San Francisco, the Valkyries. Okay, and they're funded by the Warriors, and it's a a humankind story, obviously geared towards women, becoming mainstream, becoming very, very popular. And that's fine. But when you do a series, let me first start out in no particular order. They talked about the fact that there was a team that was coming to the Bay Area. Then they did a couple of more reports. Then they did more reports. Again, in the name of news. When news is just what it is, news, not repeating a story ad nauseum and ad nauseum and ad nauseum. Then they started doing special reports. Then they did a 7-part series. This is KCBS on this new WNBA team and the rise of women's basketball, professional basketball, college basketball, but in this case, professional basketball. But then they did it again. Then they started repeating it again. Then they started doing news reports again, like ad nauseum, on and on and on and on and on. Shouting for emphasis, I am. Then guess what? Guess what? The KCBS show on Sunday used to be just a damn, really, really good news program called In Depth. And I've talked about In Depth has basically become crap in and of itself, with wind chimes in the background and a really, really unqualified person by the name of Mary Hughes, whoever she is, who's taken over that job and has turned her and others who don't know the background of In Depth, who don't know that it once used to be a great interview program and current events and politics and all that it used to delve into and talk about legitimate things. Guess what they did today? They ran a story, 30 minutes long, about 24 in radio time, with Mary Hughes talking to Holly Quan, who did the reporting on the 7-part series with regards to the WNBA and the Golden State Valkyries. That's the name of the new WNBA team that's coming to the Bay Area, San Francisco, in May of next year, 2025. Now, again, folks, legit story, yeah. Worth reporting 17,000 times with a 7-part series, and then another repeat of the 7-part series. And then Having Mary Hughes, who the hell she is, I don't know. She sounds awful. They put her on in the middle of the night. She's bad. But I guess since I'm complaining the fact that she happens to be a woman, I guess I'm a misogynist. No, I don't like people who are lousy, who they let on the air, but that's a different story. Now I'm talking about the milking of a story that is not news anymore. Why am I saying this? Because I talked to a number of sources, people who understand what's taking place at KCBS. A couple of them told me, oh, Rich, what they're trying to do, they're trying to get in with good and get some kind of an industry award that is led by women, that has to do with women. That's why they're milking this. And that's all they're doing, folks. They're milking this on and on and on, as if they didn't already know that people already know that KCBS has 8,000 or so women. I'm being a little exaggerative. You know what I mean? That they have endless amounts, 2 women reporters, 4 women reporters, more than 4 women women traffic anchors, women news anchors. And they are milking this story to death about the WNBA and the Valkyries. Every other time you turn on KCBS, we're going to talk about the WNBA. We're going to talk about this. We're going to repeat this story. We're going to repeat the series that they ran ad nauseum. Then they have the chutzpah to run about that story, which is no longer news. They're running in depth and having this god-awful anchor, Mary Hughes, interview Holly Quan, who did the story, the 7-part series, which was not really a story anymore, about the WNBA. And it went on and on and on and on out of almost complete, what in the are they doing here? Do they understand how they sound? Do they not know that their own very own people, some of whom have worked there not that long, some of them who have, are making fun of the fact that they milked this story to death? Again, it wasn't a story anymore. They're trying to get an industry award. They're trying to kiss the butt of the powers that be in the WNBA so maybe they could curry advertising. Oh, by the way, their sister station on FM 95.7 carries the Warriors. Who are the Warriors? The NBA Warriors, who, oh, by the way, own the WNBA Valkyries. Isn't that a coincidence? No, you know what this is? And nobody's going to call them out. Chronicle's not going to call them out because the Chronicle is a bad high school newspaper. The Chronicle will not call them out because the Chronicle is trying to survive in and of itself. They're afraid. They're afraid of the repercussions of dare saying anything negative about women. But it has nothing to do in that regard with women. They're basically, it's called disingenuous. It's doing something that has to do with women. And their goal is not the transformation of making women and basketball and the WNBA and all that into, some brand new news. Not at all. In fact, they're doing the opposite. They're making a mockery of a story that is not a story. And they're using people like horrible Mary Hughes. And you know what she asked? I chuckled. I absolutely chuckled. I listened to this trash crap on In Depth, and they're repeating it all over the day again. This Mary Hughes, she asked Holly Quan, boy, Holly, you're so into this story now. Are you going to go out and buy tickets to the Valkyries? Holly Quan has the chutzpah to say, well, I don't know. I might. Excuse me, last I checked, Holly Quan is a reporter for almost 30 years at KCBS. There's a thing called credentials where you get press credentials. Holly Quan doesn't have to spend a dime. She could go watch the team. I'm sure they've already saved her a press pass. Now, if she wants to spend her own money and invest, great, wonderful. The world can start sleeping again. Folks, this is just a crack. It is such a absolute miscarriage of the little semblance of credibility that KCBS has left. Again, they absolutely bury themselves. And I'm calling them out because they're a joke and they're a travesty. And you know who knows this more than I do, folks? The people who used to work, who have some semblance of credibility, who used to work at KCBS. They know this. They're the ones who keep imploring me not to stop talking about KCBS and how much of a joke it's become. Wait a minute. It's always been that way for the last few years. They get worse. I am not angry. I am animated because I can't believe whoever the new guy is and good old Jenny Seelig still there. I thought she was headed back to a promotion, but I guess she's staying on for advisory remedies and advice and analysis. Yeah, that's really good advice to have this nincompoop give advice. That's real good. That'd be like asking Mel Gibson for advice and where to find a good deli, a good Jewish deli. My God. Yeah, let's milk this story. Let's repeat it further and further about the fact of women's WNBA and how big it's becoming in the Bay Area. They haven't even played a game yet. KCBS should know better. Even the dim-witted crapola shit show that is KCBS and all their multitude of newbie reporters, traffic reporters that come up as news anchors that sometimes reappear as sports reporters who talk like this in the morning and have no business of being on the radio, but they talk like this and somehow find their way on the KCBS platform. KCBS is a joke, okay? This latest travesty is a further joke, and it does nothing. It does nothing for the new guy, whoever he is, who comes with impeccable credentials, I'm told, with all these new people that he's hired. The one guy from New York, it blemishes KCBS. It puts them into the category of legacy stations that are no longer, they're not even close. Holly Quan, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. Even you, Holly Quan. And Mary Hughes, where'd they get this guy? Where'd they find her? I mean, it is unbelievable how bad they are. They are not a comedy show anymore. They are a fucking shit show to the 20,000th power. You could see right through it. Can somebody at KCBS who has 3/4 of a brain stand up and tell Jenny Seelig and the new guy that it is impossible to listen to their product anymore? They screwed up royally. They have the wrong people in the wrong places, and a bad morning show guy who shouldn't be a news anchor in the morning and crap in the afternoon, and some schmuck that they got in the middle of the night, Shane Guinness, who they use everywhere. Now, does Shane Guinness have pictures? And Holly Quan, who I guess is the last part of the legacy station. Now she's doing story after story after story after story and regurgitating stories about the WNBA and the Valkyries. And let's just suck up to women who are trying to kiss ass to. It is so transparent. This latest is a mockery. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Those of you who still work part-time, full-time, whenever, fill in at KCBS. This is a total, and I do mean a total abomination. Let that be on the record.